Lights, cameras, action. Now let's engage in the dialogue. Let me browse through your mind like a catalog. Conscious metaphysics, allow me to break down the specifics. Educate, motivate. If you don't feel free, you can liberate. An LLC is what I'm building, the #1 podcast in the building. So let me slide on up in the Bentley truck in my Versace shirts. They can't get enough of this deep conversation, expansion, elevation. I'll send you a link you can tap in. It ain't quite what I used to do back then. Now I get it on the front and the back end. Multiple money streams keep coming in. Enlightened, empower, evolve. Enlightened, empower, evolve.
Just in time. I'm Luke Bryan Smith, and welcome to Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I know everyone's doing well and everything is unfolding perfectly. I'm excited yet again because I have another amazing guest who is a royal teacher of the highest principle of life. He teaches the law of assumption that imagination creates as the law upon which every human and divine experience rests. Having tested this law hundreds of times, with multiple results that prove it works, he shows others to do the same in daily lessons, appointments, and beyond this physical veil in dreams. Without further ado, Adelere Adesina, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm very excellent. Thank you, Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. I really am excellent today. And how are you?
I'm doing absolutely great, and I'm thankful to be connecting with you via this technology, because you're all the way in where again?
Nigeria.
Nigeria
here.
And that's one of my dream places that I wish to visit, that I know I'm going to visit one day in Nigeria, and that's amazing. Another thing I wanted to say is I believe that time is one of our most precious assets. So for you to share some of your time here with me, I just want to extend my sincerest gratitude to you once again.
You're very welcome, Luz. This is an amazing thing you're doing, bringing this awareness to more and more people. That is priceless, right? So I am so honored to have the opportunity to also give my time here with you.
Thank you, King. So let's get right into it. You're a royal teacher of the highest principle of life. Give us a little just feedback on that term right there. What does that mean to you? And yes.
All right. Okay, well, that term has a number of things that come with it. There is royal teacher and there is highest principle of life, right?
Right.
So one is how I perceive myself, and the other is what I do and what I share with the world.
Right.
So let's start with the other, what I share with the world. The highest principle of life, I firmly believe, is the law of assumption. And when I say I firmly believe, I'm not really talking about, believe in terms of hearsay or somebody told me so, and I'm narrating the belief that I picked from someone. I'm sharing something that I have experienced on a daily basis up until this moment as we speak. That's the law of assumption. This is the law by which all things are made, and without it, nothing was ever made that was made. That's the law. And put simply, this highest principle I'm talking about does say, whatever you believe that you are, that's what you receive in this world. So if you assume yourself to be a king, then you receive the treatment of a king, the life of a king, the circumstances of a king in this world. Exactly. You got your crown, and you're going to be given, even if it takes 1 million people to bring that crown to you. But if you assume that you're lowly in your consciousness, if you see yourself as a grasshopper, then you're going to be experiencing the same situation, circumstances, and events in this world. And that's the highest principle, is that it's not even about your actions or your behavior. It's about your assumptions, your attitude to life. That is what creates the circumstances you have to deal with, the events that you encounter, and even the actions that you eventually are compelled to take. All right. That's on the first part of the highest principle of life. I don't know if you want me to take a break there or if you would like me to continue with the second part.
No, go ahead. You have a flow going on, and I'm listening to
All
you,
right,
and
great.
I resonate with you thus far.
Wonderful.
Continue, King.
Wonderful. All right. So, and the other part, which is a royal teacher, signifies how I see myself. All right. There is a part of royalty, which I could, in fact, share a story of how my highest principle that I'm talking about uh, reflected in that aspect of reality. And there's also the part of me assuming I'm a teacher.
Right,
So my assumption of myself is that I teach what I teach. I teach it royally and I teach it to royal people, and I am the most royal of all. That's why, in fact, I am the one who gives the wisest counsels to people who are uh, eager and ready to expand into the highest principle of life, which is the law of assumption here. I recall the first day I actually embodied the state of being royalty. So I had stayed with my parents at the time, and I had just wanted to get things clear in my life and move forward from where I was. And I took a walk that afternoon. Um, Not sure if you're familiar with Neville Goddard, but he is one of the greatest teachers of the law of assumption. I think you would be familiar, very much familiar with him. He's such a popular,
who
amazing
is it?
teacher. Neville Goddard.
Neville
Neville.
Goddard. Yes, I am familiar. I
Yeah,
have several
great.
books from him. I listen to his segments on YouTube, and yes, I love Neville Goddard.
Wonderful. Yeah, great. So I had studied one of his lectures, Fundamentals, and I took a walk that afternoon, began to imagine myself being a king. I first reflected on why have I not treated myself that way? Because actually my name signifies it. My name signifies that I'm from a royal family.
Right,
Adelere means the crown is profitable, okay? And Adesina means that the crown opens doors to opportunities.
right,
That's what both names mean. And I had I just took a walk that afternoon and began to reflect on that. And then I assumed immediately that I was royalty. I don't need to explain it to anybody. I don't need to break it down for anyone. That's just who I am, royalty. And everywhere I go to, people treat me that way, see me that way, refer to me that way as the highest of royalties. And that was on a 10, 20 minutes walk. Now, I was staying with my parents at the time. So when I returned back home from the walk, there was already a person waiting, a friend and family sort of person waiting, and was chilling with the family, greeting dad and mom. And as I entered the house, he stood up and he bowed in the way that we genuflect to kings in my part of the world. And he bowed towards me and he said, "Welcome the king," in my dialect. He said that, and I was shocked because this was a man that was old enough to be my father, but he actually bowed to me and he was saying, "Welcome to the king." And he
wow,
did it, he thought he was doing it playfully, but it just reflected what I assumed only 10 minutes earlier.
right.
And then I
That's
realized, oh wow, this works so super good.
right,
All you've got to do is to define who you would like to believe yourself to be and assume you are.
right. That's
And I
amazing.
did that
That is
exactly.
that is amazing. Now, what I want to ask first, before I ask you this, I wanted to note if you were aware that Neville Goddard, he learned his teachings from someone. Did you know?
Yes, definitely Abdullah.
Abdullah. Yeah, that's him right there. That's who he learned. That's who Neville
Yeah,
Goddard learned his teachings from.
yes,
Yes,
correct, correct.
yes, Abdullah. Right. So that's
And he's
amazing.
African too.
Yeah, he's African. So yes, the Neville Goddard was very wise, and that the message resonated with his soul. Yes, and the way he teaches it is I love it too. The way he puts it together, it's very easy to understand, and yeah, you can tell it's the knowledge really affected him on a very deep level. So what I was going to ask you, how did you begin with this? How did you even know to start looking up this information or to know about this? Oh, it's just when you came across Neville Goddard, it touched you, or what happened?
All right, there were actually, I wouldn't say a one point in time was where the journey started for me. There are so many posts on the way. All right, but one significant event in my life was back in 2020 in February, uh,
Right,
and I was just speaking with a friend of mine who was going to eventually be my mentor at the time at the year, and I told him I would like to change my fortunes. I was the first son in my family, and
right,
that has always felt to me like I have a burden, I have a responsibility to my parents, to my siblings. I've
right,
always wanted to do some things for them, but I was starting from a very low class in my
right.
society. So I met him. I said, "What could I do? How could I change my situation?" And he said, "What books have you read?" "I don't read books." He said, "Oh, okay, I'll give you this book to read. Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson, if you know that book."
Who
So
is
he
it?
gave it to me, very small book, Spencer Johnson, Who Moved My Cheese.
No, I'm not familiar, but I'll write that down.
All right, all right,
Spencer
it's a
Johnson.
short book. Yes, Spencer Johnson, Who Moved My Cheese. Well, it's a very short book. It's on personal development generally and dealing with change. And
Hmm.
that was what he gave it to me for, that you
And
should be
what's
able
the
to
name of
deal
that
with
book again? I apologize for my interruption. What's the name of
who
this?
moved who moved my cheese.
Okay,
Spencer
got it.
Johnson.
Spencer
Yeah,
Johnson.
that's
Okay, thank you, sir.
that's the author. Yeah. So he gave that book to me. I read it. It took me about 2 weeks to finish it because I wasn't used to reading books. But then after I was done with the book, I had a new perspective to everything. I
Right,
went, there is knowledge like this somewhere, and I had been living all my life without having an awareness of it. Oh my
right,
goodness.
right,
And so I began to study more and more into personal development from the time.
right.
But I came across the law of assumption through Bob Proctor. That was in October 2020.
Yeah, Bob Proctor,
So
another
Bob
great.
Proctor,
Yes.
yes, another great teacher, and he was reading from Awakened Imagination. He was reading Determined Imagination. Thinking from the end is the beginning of all miracles. And I heard
Wow.
those words. I went,
Wow.
that's interesting because I can share that with one or two miracles in my life right now. So,
Yes.
so I
Yes.
went ahead and looked up Neville Goddard. Then I found his books and his teachings. But I must tell you, I didn't start studying Neville Goddard from that year because I was terrified with the kind of knowledge he shared. I was
Right.
terrified it was too much power, too much control in my hands than
Right.
I had experienced in all other personal development studies before. Because,
Right.
the man said, your imagination is God, not
Right.
a
Right.
God, but the
Is
God who
God.
created the whole universe.
Right. It's a part of it. Yes. It is. And I can
And
just to interject for a second, I can understand what you're saying, that if you haven't heard that knowledge before, that can be quite shocking.
absolutely, that was shocking. That was
Right.
one of the biggest shocks in my life was, what is this person saying? So I kept the whole thing for a couple of weeks. Didn't read anything, didn't touch anything. But one day I began to look into it. And I
Right.
found he's talking about the effortless way. He's saying if you imagine that God is there in the moment, in the place where you're imagining, and that power will pull you forth into the experience physically. And I proved it. I first proved it with winning a scholarship for £6,000 program, which I had no money to pay for. And I imagined myself doing the course, and I was awarded a scholarship for it. That was mind blowing for me within 30 days. And then after that, I had a number of other phenomenal experiences, and that led me to practicing revision. Now, I'll say to anyone who's listening to me here, if you want to try this, okay, and test it, and even try to disprove it, start
Right.
with revisions.
Right.
There's something called revisions in this world, and it is absolute magic.
What is it?
Absolute magic.
Give
And
us
this
a
is
little.
what it is.
Okay. I
So
knew.
in August 2021, I began to learn there is something called revision from Neville Goddard, and
Right.
this is what it is. You take an event that occurred that was not your pleasure. All right, it occurred, it happened already, but it wasn't according to your pleasure. You take that event, and then in your imagination, you relive it as if it was pleasurable,
Mm,
as if it was perfect, as if
mm,
it was exactly as you would like it to be. And you do that over and over and over again until you felt the joy you would have felt if the perfect thing happened in your day.
right. Right. As
And
if
you
it's
do that for
already
as
so.
many events, exactly. And you do that for as many events of your day as you didn't have pleasure in. So
Right.
if things happen in your day, instead of feeling, oh, you just feel gratitude for the good thing in it, or feeling like, or maybe it's just one of those things that would push you to the next level. No, change it, revise it to the standard you would like to have. I
Yes.
never learned how to do that in all of my life. And I came across it in Neville Goddard's teachings. And he said himself, he said, if this is the one thing I teach, and I don't teach anything else, then this one thing will, for hundreds of years to come, be one thing humanity will be grateful I taught.
Right.
And so I
Wow.
went, I would practice that. So I began to put it to test. And I used it to revise people who were saying, oh, I don't have any money coming in for me. Around me, I revised that they were saying, I got money. I got more money. I got more deals. I got more money. And that happened. I mean, that happened to somebody who was under 17 years old, who told me he had a passion in writing and he had no idea how to make money. And I revised that he was telling me, oh, I made money. And that
Right.
was what happened within 2 months. He
Wow.
began to make money. And until today, he still tells me I make more money.
Right. You
But I have
know,
never told him until today that I did a revision for him. He doesn't know it.
wow. You know, allow me to interject, King. That
Right.
is amazing. And I resonate with everything you said because that is exactly what I have transformed, I would say, my mindset to think daily. And that is a practice that I do. I even go as far as writing things down and being thankful for things that haven't happened yet that I am feeling it into existence, that I am speaking it into existence, that I am thinking it into existence, that I'm assuming as you speak. And those are some great teachers that you mentioned as well. Bob Proctor, he has this paradigm shift. They call it paradigm. Uh, he Neville Goddard, one of my main teachers. There's also another one I'd like to share with you. His name is Joseph Murphy. Amazing. He speaks along
Yes.
those same lines as far as consciousness and amazing. And that is very true. And that's not just something that that now just is some knowledge that someone else is sharing, because I know that when you read books, it's still someone else's perspective. But now I know that these perspectives from Joseph Murphy, from Neville Goddard, from Bob Proctor actually works because it has done the same thing in my life. attracted
Absolutely.
attracted a lot of amazing experiences, travel, and a lot of people want to hear money. It has attracted it into my life, a lot of prosperity. And not saying that there isn't any contrast in the life, there isn't any negatives and positives, because that's the part of life. But I am learning, and I have learned how to think better, how to assume, how to put in practices such as the ones that you speak of. And it does work. So I can,
Absolutely.
yes, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Lutz. Thank you for that
Yes,
personal testimony of yours. That's
yes,
fantastic. And that's actually the thing that this fundamental law of as you think, so you are does work. You
right,
know, the thing about that passage of scriptures where that statement came from, I think that
right,
is Proverbs 23, verse 7 now.
right,
It says, he does something else. This man is doing something else, but as it thinks, so it is. So it's not as it does, so it is, but as it thinks, so it is.
Right.
Right. It's how it thinks. And I have used this, starting with revision, to change so many things in my life. And if you haven't known this before, I'm letting you know right now, everyone here out there, is that you can change the life of others. I started with the experience of a person, a friend of mine, who was under 16 years old, 17 years old then, and he started to make money, right? Just from me imagining it. And then somebody told me, oh, I've got miscarriages like twice, and we haven't got a child in our family yet. And she said, pray with me. And I said, all right. I know the one way to pray is for me to assume that she told me
Right.
I've got a beautiful baby. So I revised
Right.
it.
Right.
And within days, within months rather, I saw a picture of her with a beautiful baby and a husband having a
Right.
beautiful life together. It was like amazing.
Right.
And I saw so many experiences like that for many people, things you would think were impossible. I'm not talking about, manifestations that you would have said, oh, that would have happened anyway. I'm saying things that were meant to be impossible.
Right.
They actually happened
Right.
because I revised, because I
Yes.
used my imagination. And until today, if you ask me, so how did that happen? I would only tell you I assumed it, I imagined it, and after that, I know nothing else of how it came to be. The
Right.
circumstances just put themselves together.
Yes, that's exactly. And the thing is, you don't have to know and understand how it came together. You just know that it did. And you know what you did
Exactly.
to spark that and to cause into causation. So, yes, all the details, no need to worry about it. Just know that
Perfect.
it's happening. So that's amazing.
Perfect.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and by the way, Lutz, I think that that's one of the mentalities that a royal person would really have is I don't need to know all the details. As for
Right.
example, as the king of a country, you have a project you ask them to work on. You don't need to know all the little details about it all running every day. All you know is you gave an order. I want this. I want it on this day. I want it completed by this time. And the whole people who work with you have to match all the resources to
Right.
ensure that it's delivered exactly as you requested.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's one of the things that you and I have got to feel because we are literally the king of kings. We have hosted in our body our imagination, and that is God. That is the king of kings.
Yes. I agree.
Right.
I totally agree. So, how do you work with people? You work with people online? You have is there a way that people can get in contact with you through a website? How does that work?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. I work with people online.
Okay.
Yeah, virtual teachings like this, that's what I've been teaching my students through. And it could be one-on-one if that's what you want, and it could also be via a group coaching. And I also have some other programs that you can just self-study yourself, right? I even have books if you want to study the books and use them to learn how to work with these principles and processes. All of that is great. And my website is adelereadesina.com. You can find all of my materials and resources there.
Yes, and
adelereadesina.com.
let me spell that for people that are just listening because this will go up on just audio streaming services as well. So it's
Right.
can you spell it for us?
Yeah, definitely I can. So it is ADELEREADESINA.com. So let
.com.
me repeat that. ADELEREADESINA.com. And
Yes.
another beautiful thing, in fact, is if you get on the website, you can find other coaches and teachers in this same line of teaching of the law of assumption that work with me, associates. They can learn with. If you would like to be maybe even more comfortable with somebody from, say, South Africa or the United States or any other part of the world, yes, we have associate coaches that can also work with that.
Oh,
Right.
that is amazing. Wow. And Yes, yes. Amazing. And thank you for sharing your site. Now, through your site, you can also look up you say that you're an author of some of books as well?
Yes, they're also on my website. I've got 6 books now.
Oh, wow. And you can find them on your
Yes,
website.
yes, you can find all of them on my website.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. You're an author of 6 books. You work in
Yes,
are you,
sole author of 5, co-author of 1, so 6.
wow, that is amazing. And that is another great, I would say, goal that you've manifested in your life. Did you always think that you would be an author?
Yeah, well, right from childhood, I've always known that I would write 1 or 2 things, but never really thought, being an author. Never really planned for it. But as I was growing into what I am right now in stature and life, I began to
Right,
see that that's one of the things I would like to have. I have so many people that want to learn this. Sometimes they would prefer to just read it in a book. So I think the beautiful thing is I began to have the idea of writing a book at all because some friends said, "Oh, but a book would be great." And I said, "Ah, that's right. A book would be great, but I don't have any idea I would write a book on the law
right,
of assumption
right,
when there are tons of books and so on out there." But I assumed it, as
right,
with everything else. And I'll tell you this. This is a fantastic story, like you said. I assumed it in October. I formulated the desire in September to write a book.
right.
Okay. And I assumed it in October, that was 2022, that I have already written a book. I imagined it was a fantastic book, taught so many people so many lessons, and they made fantastic progresses, results, and life changes with the book. That's what I did. I imagined that, slept in the feeling of 1 or 2 of my friends, a particular friend, saying congratulations to me in my imagination. Congratulations on your new book. That was what I imagined. And in
Wow.
November,
And that's
on
before
November
you wrote your
25th,
first book?
yes, that was before I wrote my first book at all.
Right. Oh,
And
okay.
on November 25th, the book was released.
Hmm.
All right.
Wow.
So,
Powerful. Go ahead.
th- yeah. And then when the first book was released, I went, wow, that was super good and super fast. And then I said, I can do this again. So
Right.
I imagined again that the new year I released a new book. And then a simple idea just came to my mind, which was, why don't you put together all of your articles that you've written over the year and put them in a book, put some exercises together with them, and release that out there for people to read, in a format. Now, people actually asked for that. People said, if you could get your articles in a book, if you could get your articles in a book, this would be amazing. So I simply did that. And that made my second book for that year, for
Wow.
2023. And then my third book was on my birthday, March 2023. I imagined that as well. I imagined that I released a book on my birthday and I simply was assuming myself, announcing and saying, yeah, now the book is released. Happy birthday to me and things like that. And that was what happened. My
Right.
third book.
See,
Right.
and the thing is, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I want you to finish your thought. Go ahead.
Right. Oh, sure. So if you want me to, I can. The fourth book was after my wedding, so I imagined that it would be a fantastic gift after my wedding to release a book as well. And I imagined on the date I would like it to be, that was July 1st. So in my imagination, I slept as if I was saying Happy New Month, everyone. And the fourth book is out right now, completing the series on the Power of Imagination series. And that was it. That was exactly how it happened. So by July 1st, I had written Power of Inner Speech, The Power of Revision, and The Power of Self Concept.
Mm, wow.
And then by August, another idea came up for a book. Why don't you write a book on how to imagine being rich, how to make money using your imagination, create a rich life with that? Because that's what I did. The only thing I do right now to live is to imagine. I don't do anything else.
Right.
Right. So I simply put it in the book, how you can imagine yourself to be rich. But I announced the book, imagined again that I released it on my mom's birthday. And
Wow.
I did.
Wow. That is amazing. And the thing
Right.
is, you've already tested this, tried and tested it. So you're already, it's just become stronger each time you use that technique because you already know it works. So there's no doubt in there anymore. So that's amazing. So you just continue to create, manifest, bring forth into fruition whatever it is that you assume, that you imagine. And that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That is what it is. And I'm here to tell everyone you can do the same for yourself. And I want to let you know that you can actually trust yourself to live entirely by your imagination. Right? I believe that's one of the biggest things I've ever told myself is to trust yourself. Because I went out on a limb, I had no idea if it was going to work, how I could live my life by it, and everything, all of the 1001 questions of could this work? Could I do this? But I just went, trust yourself,
Right.
trust yourself.
Right.
And I did. And
Yes.
my sixth book also came up as a co-author. I co-authored with an amazing coach from South Africa, Fazila, and that was just released on December 20th, which is just a few days back, right?
Wow.
So got six books, and in fact now got all my books being studied on a monthly basis, on a daily basis across the world, because now people have book clubs on my books.
Amazing, amazing, King. I love hearing that. Yes, so I just want to thank you so much for coming on to this podcast. Adelere, right? Adelere.
Yes, yes, correct.
Yes, I just want to thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching and or listening. Be sure to check out his website. Get those amazing books. That say the website one more time, please, King.
Yeah, adelereadesina.com. ADELEREADESINA.com. All right,
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
website.
Go to that website, click on it. I will have that website in the description of this segment here so that you can just click the link for those that watch the video. Yes, thank you everyone for watching Enlightened, Empowered, Evolved. Be sure to check out my website as well at 333empower.com. Also, hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell to keep up with the content, help grow the channel, leave comments, questions. Yes. And also, if you think that you are a great fit to be on this podcast, email 333empower@gmail.com. See you soon.
Wonderful,
Thank
wonderful.
you.
It's my royal pleasure. Bye bye.
Yes. Love and appreciation to everyone.